So we're excited about that. This is my husband. Did you just?
Marriage is what brings us together today.
I love my son. So this is my husband, Brian. I'm Shannon. I work here at the church. I oversee small groups and connections. And our lovely children are around doing things, but I'll let Brian. Oh, yeah, you get to do the next part. Ugh. Oh, I should remind you, this is the first time we've done this. Well, times two. This is new. This is different. We're open to you guys interacting. Feel free to laugh. Feel free to, yell out a random comment here and there. We can handle it. Try not to boo us too much. That would be rude. And definitely don't bring anything that you can throw at us. All right, now you can go.
So we've done a couple of marriage classes in the past couple of years. And in one of those classes, I think we did in both, but it was more in the first one, we had done just some weird, crazy questions to kind of show the difference between, you and your spouse. And one of the first ones that came up was, what utensil do you use to eat your applesauce? Seems like a very strange question, right? So, by a show of hands, how many people use a spoon? Again, I'm sorry. How many people use a fork? Again, we have a couple.
I need some pity ones.
We have a couple pity
Come
hands.
on, a couple pity hands. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for loving me.
So, yeah, we're going to go through a few more of those in the coming weeks, but I just don't understand using a slotted utensil to eat something that's basically soup.
Because I don't have to clean a spoon if I already have a fork in my hand. That's why. Thank you. Yes, you don't do enough dishes. It does not fall through. I can eat a little thing of applesauce with a fork just fine. You all need to go home and try it now.
No.
Just saying, do it. Do it. So we are doing this month. You're stuck with us for a month, but we're excited about it. Hopefully, it'll be a good thing because we believe that marriage is important, and our church believes that marriage is important. So what we want. Do I have that one? Is this one? Okay. Ooh, I sound weird. See, we're just gonna have fun today. But as I was saying, marriage is really important, and we believe it's important. It's one of our heart passions. It's also a passion of our church. We want to see healthy, stable marriages. We want to see people succeed in the thing that God has created that is so amazing. And so that's kind of why we're taking a month. So for the singles, for the non-married, the unmarrieds at the moment, I hope that you'll bear with us, that you will come and you will listen and you will learn, and you may have something that you can talk to your friends, and if maybe they're coming to you, you can help them and give them some biblical answers. It's just that important that we take a month because we've already seen what it can do. We recognize that divorce happens and is just a part of life, but it isn't what God wanted for us. And so we kind of want to talk about some of that in a little bit later.
So we're going to start out a little bit about us. We got married at the age of 19. We eloped. Our parents did not know we were getting married. I don't necessarily recommend that path, especially when your soon-to-be wife's dad is a preacher. I would recommend, though, I would recommend eloping, but just take your parents with you.
That's what our kids have done. Good
Yes.
job, boys. We got one more to go, but he's going to figure it out.
Yeah. So having said that, I got some numbers here. And 913,969,308 seconds. 15,232,821 minutes, 253,880 hours, 10,579 days, 1,151 weeks, 347 months. All that just to tell you that's 28 years, 11 months, and 18 days that we have been married. And to tell you that it feels way longer than that.
Oh, the love.
Yes. But at the same time, it feels like it was just last week. We had 3 adult sons. We did go through marriage counseling. So those of you who feel that marriage counseling is beneath you, you are wrong. Everybody should be doing it, whether you need it or not, or whether you think you need it or not. I see I hit a chord with somebody there.
I don't wanna be that
Are we too
to you.
close? I keep doing this?
Yeah, you have to keep.
I'm
yeah.
sorry.
See, we're learning. Progress. What?
Okay.
Sorry, we're learning. For all of those watching online, this is what happens when you just throw people up here.
What's wrong with this technology? It should just work.
Oh, user error. So rude. Once again, our kids
Yes.
being kind,
So continuing on with numbers.
which are his favorite, by the way, if you haven't noticed. I did not
Yes.
figure these things out.
40 to 50% of first marriages end in divorce. And that data is accurate as of this year. This is the bad one. 25% of Christian marriages end in divorce. We need to be doing better as Christians. 17% of couple cohabitate but don't get married. Divorce is not part of God's plan for anyone.
And let's look at Mark chapter 10, verses 2 through 9. It says, some Pharisees came and tested him by asking, is it lawful for a man to divorce his wife? What did Moses command you? He replied, and that's Jesus. He goes, they said, Moses permitted a man to write a certificate of divorce and send her away. It was because your hearts were hard that Moses wrote you this law, Jesus replied. But at the beginning of creation, God made them male and female. For the reason a man will leave his father and mother and be unified to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. So they are no longer two, but as one flesh. Therefore, what God has joined together, let no one separate. Divorce was never in the plan, you guys. It happens. It's happened. We've watched it happen. But it wasn't what God had for us. And so when we're talking about this, we're going to be talking about covenant marriage and how important that is, because our culture has lied to us. And it's told us, well, if you're not happy, just leave. If something goes wrong, just get out. But that isn't what marriage is about. Marriage is about us becoming more Christ-like and us serving our spouse. So even though it happens, God is good and he is forgiving and he is gracious and he loves us in spite. It wasn't what he wanted for any of us because he knew the consequences. He knew what it was going to look like. He knew what it would take and what it would take away from a person. So we just want to remember that we're not, neither one of us are looking at anyone who's been through a divorce or had a situation negatively. We understand sometimes you just don't have a choice. And it's okay. And God loves you. And we love you. So we're going to talk about marriage, and we're going to talk about the impact of marriage. So the first thing we want to do is a Christian marriage. This is the definition of a Christian marriage. A Christian marriage is a covenant made between two persons with God at the center. And this means that God pledges to help us hold the covenant together, even when we may feel like giving up. So marriage isn't just us. It's not just husband and wife. Marriage involves God. He's in it, and he's the one that said, I will help you. I will help you hold it together. Yeah, we're that cord. We're bound in that cord. And what an awesome thing that is to know that it isn't just us in this. Because if it was just us, it may not have gone so well. Not that we haven't had our issues, but still, it'd be worse.
What does a covenant marriage mean? Covenant marriage is an arrangement where marrying spouses agree that their marriage will last for the rest of their lives.
Wow, the rest of our lives. Yay. Isn't that great? Don't you like to think of that? Yeah, we have some of ours getting married over there. They're like, we're so excited. Okay, well, it's been how many seconds? No. It is an awesome thing that God gives to us, that he allows us to be married and keep that. So what are the words of a marriage covenant? It's each party is essentially saying to the other, I will die for you. From now on, your interests take precedence over my own. I no longer live for myself, I live for you. And each lays down his life for the other. The covenant that secures a marriage is sacrificial and permanent. Doesn't that sound like fun? It's awesome. I'm giving up my own interest and needs. I'm putting yours I'm not giving them up. I should correct that. I'm putting his interest and needs above my own. So I'm looking for him. What can I do for him that's going to make his life better? What can I do for him that is going to draw us closer together? Now, he has to do the same thing to me, so don't think this is one-sided. And he's much better at it than I am. Just agree. Just do it. It's fine. It's fine. I know. As you wish. Oh, yes, as you wish. He is much better at it. But that's what he's talking about. That's what a covenant marriage is. It's saying, this is forever, and I'm going to put you first. You're going to be the person I think about. And it's really hard to do sometimes. The other thing we talked about is, what does covenant relationship with God mean? So what does that look like? What is it? And it says within the gospel, a covenant means a sacred agreement or a mutual promise between God and a person or a group of people. In making a covenant, God promises a blessing for obedience to particular commandments. Now, I was reading that this morning, and I'm like, all right, so God has covenants that he's given to us. He said things in the Bible and said, this is a covenant. This is what's happening. The one I thought of this morning was, children, honor your father and mother, for your days will be long. Well, we like that one, don't we, as parents? Yes, we do. I don't know if our kids like it as much. Probably not, no. But it's okay, because that's, ours are back there going, that's okay. It makes a difference because God said, if you do this, I will do this. If you do this, I will do this. If I put my husband first, not before God, but if I put my husband first in our relationship, then he's going to give us peace. And we're going to learn to love each other, and we're going to work through those hard times. You?
What Bible verse is the marriage promise? It's Ephesians 5:31. For this cause shall a man leave his father and mother and shall cleave to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh.
Okay. This is for all our singles out there who have believed the lie that you are not complete unless you are married. It's a lie. You are a complete person with God. He has made you a complete person. So what we're supposed to do is two complete people are supposed to come together with God in the center and choose to love each other and stay together for the rest of our lives. Just like our vows say, till death do us part. There's no outs. There's no, well, if, they're a jerk. That wouldn't happen, though. It's always about coming back to him. And what is our covenant of love with God? It means that he's committed himself to love us, to care for us and to protect us, and to lead us into heaven. And the fact that it is an eternal covenant means he will remain committed to us forever. We are supposed to love our spouse like God loves us. God has told us, I will love you no matter what. No matter what you do, no matter what you say, nothing will keep me from loving you. We're supposed to be able to turn to our spouse and say, no matter what you do, no matter what you say, no matter what comes, I will love you. And that's hard. I mean, not that he isn't wonderful, and I'm perfect. Say it.
Although she uses forks to eat applesauce, but, nobody's perfect.
What are you going to do? I know, it's fine. So why is a covenant so important to God? A covenant is a sacred agreement between God and his children. And God set specific conditions under it. And he said he promises to bless us if we obey these conditions. So making and keeping a covenant qualifies us to receive that specific blessing that God's promised. And when we choose not to keep the covenant, we obviously don't get the blessing. So our covenant to each other was set in our vows. For richer or for poorer, for better or for worse. There's a whole bunch of other ones I don't like, you guys know them, right? It's been 29 years. Good job. But that's our covenant to each other. It doesn't matter what happens. It doesn't matter what happens in your relationships. God is still a part of it, and you're going to still choose to love your spouse.
And what are God's promises in a relationship? In John 13:34, a new commandment I give to you, that you love one another. Just as I have loved you, you are also to love one another.
Ew. What did Jesus do for us? He died. God gave his son. We're supposed to love our spouse just like that. That sacrificially, that much. But how many of us do that or do it well? It's a hard thing to do, but that's what God has told us to do. Love one another. Figure it out. Work through the problems.
Why is your spouse a gift to God, from God? In 1 John 4:12, it says, no one has ever seen God, but if we love one another, God lives in us, and his love is made complete in us.
What's our culture say? Our culture sees us. We talked in the stats, 25% of Christian marriages end in divorce. We're supposed to be in the world and not of the world. But we bought the lies that our culture has told us. So are you willing to step out? Are people able to look at your marriage and say, wow, you guys have had issues, but you're working through them. Wow, you're not fighting and throwing out the word divorce. Wow, you're not complaining to me and being like, well, I'll just, we'll just start over. We'll find someone new. The grass was greener over here. You're committed to the person that you married, no matter what comes up. So who keeps this covenant of love? Well, in Deuteronomy 7:9, it says, understand, therefore, that the Lord your God is indeed God. He is the faithful God who keeps his covenant for 1,000 generations and lavishes his unfailing love on those who love him and obey his commands. God keeps his covenant. We're to keep our covenant. Marriage isn't a throwaway. No matter what anyone says, it's not. So that begs the question, does God want you to stay in an unhappy marriage? Guess what? It's not about you. God gave us 2, maybe 3 reasons for divorce. One is adultery, you have abuse, and you have abandonment. And we've seen it. We've seen abandonment here. And we've seen the cost and the price that people have paid. God didn't want any of that. But he also gave us free will and we could choose it. And that's what happens sometimes. So, if life sucks at the moment, okay. But God didn't say, get out. Come to him. Go to your spouse. Talk to each other. I know that's hard. We don't like to do it. That's actually why we went to counseling for a year. We spent a year, it was how long were we married?
It wasn't very long.
Yeah, a few years. And we, for some odd reason, didn't know how to communicate. Because we're not different at all. Like, he likes sci-fi and gaming and, I don't know, just weird things to me. And then there's me, who's like, I'll just read. And he's like, a book? What's that? We did not know how to communicate well, and we eloped after 3 months. So I'm not saying that we knew a whole bunch about each other. We were learning on the way, and we were 19 years old, which means we were young and dumb. And we tell everybody, don't get married that young. God has blessed us, and it's been amazing. But we went to counseling for the year just because we didn't know how to talk. How do I say something and not upset him? How do I help him understand where I'm coming from? How does he talk to me where I don't go slightly crazy? A little bit. I was the yeller. The boys don't remember any of this. They think we have a perfect marriage. Before they came and when they were little, I would be the yeller. I was the one that wanted it fixed, and I wanted it fixed now. And he, which took me years to find out, he would walk away because he needed space to think about it. And I'm going, oh my gosh, he's gonna leave me. It's the worst. He doesn't love me. He won't fix it. And he's going, I just need some time to process. Leave me alone, lady. And eventually I did get there. And I would say, and he'll come back to me. Actually, the funny thing is, he'll come back to me when we have an argument. He will come back to me like a couple days later and like give me an answer. And I literally will be like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Which works really well for him. Really does.
I didn't have to think about anything. I just needed her to cool off a little bit.
Yeah, we're still going home today. That's like the first time we got in an argument. So when we first got married, it's not like you argue when you first get married, right? You're just lovey-dovey. I know. So we had our first argument not long after we got married, and I realized I have to stay at the house with him. In fact, I have to stay in the bed with him, and I am mad. And I'm like, what the heck happened here? Because normally, if you're cohabitating or you're just living together or whatever, you can just be like, I'm just leaving. Well, we had this amazing piece of paper and these vows to each other that said, I'm not leaving. And I'm like, I have to go to bed with him, and that was a hard one. I mean, I remember that to this day, of just knowing that, yeah, he had no clue, because he was clueless in the beginning. Don't let him fool you. So does God want you to stay in an unhappy marriage? He wants you to work at it. Ephesians 5 describes marriage as a metaphor for our relationship with God. Can you go back, please? Thank you. It says, he is not capricious in his affections toward us, nor does his love depend on favorable circumstances. God's love doesn't depend on us. Our love for each other isn't supposed to be affected by the ups and downs. We're still supposed to love each other. First service, I said something about there was a time, and this is bad, people don't say this. There was a time where I told Brian, I love you, but I don't like you right now. That is very not nice, and that is very hurtful. So learn from my mistake and don't say it, and don't think it. Because you know what? I love the man that God brought into my life. Even when I don't get him, even when he goes and plays basketball the morning after our wedding, it's fine.
I had prior commitments. I'm sorry.
I should have known then.
Hey, I'm a man of my word. I said I was going to be somewhere, so I was there.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good. But we're still married and we still love each other. So let's look at Ephesians 5:22 through 33. It says, wives, submit to your own husbands as to the Lord. For the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church, his body, and is himself its Savior. Now, as the church submits to Christ, so also wives submit in everything to their husbands. Before we go on, you men will get it. Just wait. Women, God has a plan for us. It is for us to actually submit to our husband. And I will tell you now, I understand it's hard. And I understand that means you have to trust them, and you have to hope that they have your best interest at heart, no matter what the decision is. But God has made you to do that. And it doesn't mean that you don't have conversations. It doesn't mean that you don't talk about the stuff. But when push comes to shove, he's the answer, whether I like it or not. And in the beginning, if he didn't use the word no, I, like most women, found the wiggle room, and I got my way anyway. I'm like, well, he didn't say no, so he left me a little space. And it took me a long time to figure out, hey, that was wrong. And I needed to stop doing it. But I got to the point where if a decision comes up and we've talked about it and it's up to him, he's going to say what it is, and I'm going to go, okay, whether I liked it or not. I'll be like, all right, that's the way we're going. Talk to any of our 3 kids in the back. They will tell you that's how it is. Most of you who know me know that I'm pretty strong-willed. A little bit. But I'm supposed to submit to him, and I do, because that's what God has asked me to do, and it took me a long time to figure it out and to work it out. But I trust him because I know, after time and time again, that he's always put the kids and I first, and he's looking out for us. So now what about these guys?
Well, before we move forward, you know, she submits to me. We have discussions and decisions. This is not me being a dictator. If there's a big decision to be made, we discuss it. Both our inputs are put in, and if we differ, it's my decision we go with. If that decision's that important. What I've done over the years is I will make all the big decisions. She will make all the small decisions. I've just made sure that every decision is a small decision. That way I have to make no decisions, right? And then she feels like she's getting input.
Not quite sure that's how it works.
Yeah, well.
He does tend to give me a lot of leeway, but again, that's part of him knowing who I am. One of the great things that I love about Brian is the fact that he allows me to be strong and still support me and love me and give me boundaries, because believe it or not, sometimes I go a little off the deep end and I go too far, and he has to reel me back in and be like, okay, you need to stop. You can't do this anymore. You need to be home more. You're getting too tired. You need a nap. That's our favorite one. He sends me for nap time. It hasn't ended. Yeah, it's okay. You know what? It's okay. Chris, do you have that problem? Nap time helps both of us. I think that's what.
Yes,
he
it's
said.
mutually beneficial.
It is mutually beneficial, but that's okay. Yep. Hey, he's the one who will be watching something, and he'll look at me and he goes, you should just go take your nap. And I'm like, no, I think I'm going to be fine. And I sit there for like 2 more minutes, and I go, I'm going to go take my nap.
But moving on in verse 25, it says, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her, that he might sanctify her, having cleansed her by the washing of the water of the word, so that he might present the church to himself in splendor, without spot or wrinkle or any such thing, that she might be holy and without blemish. In the same way, husbands should love their wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself, for no one ever hated his own flesh, but nourishes and cherishes it, just as Christ does the church, because we are members of his body. Therefore, a man shall leave his father and mother and hold fast to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. This mystery is profound, and I'm saying that it refers to Christ and the church. However, let each one of you love his wife as himself, and let the wife see that she respects her husband.
How do we like that one? Guys, you feeling good about it? Feeling like you got it all under control, right? Y'all got it hard. Women, our men have it harder than us. And we need to understand that. We have to submit to them, yes. They have the final say in things. And if they're a good husband, They are speaking to us and they are looking out for us, and so their final decisions are good. I'm not going to say they get it right every time, but that's what we have, and we can trust in them then. So we don't have to worry about that decision. We can say, you know what, I can't do it. Sometimes, honestly, us women are too emotional. We just cannot make the decision because it will hurt us. But our husbands can, and we need to give them that opportunity. And then here it's talking about the fact that they have to love us like Christ loved us. Well, he died. Girls, you ready to die for your men? I'm not. And I love him. But I tell you what, if something happens, he darn well better put me behind him. That's what I expect, just so you know. Okay.
No, that's one of the reasons why men don't live as long as women, is we will die. Well, no, we will die for our family. We will die for every member of our family. A woman may put herself in harm's way for her children. Like she said, she's not going to do it for me. And I'm okay with that because I should be in front of her. Think about this, men, next time you're walking down the road. Where are you standing in comparison to your wife? What's that? Next to the road. You should be between the road and your wife. That's so when you see the car coming at you, they're veering off the sidewalk, you can push her in front of it. And, no, that's not why. That's not why. It's so you can protect her. If you have life insurance, yes. Along with the fact that men are just stupid little boys and do stupid things that will get them hurt. But yeah.
I think you said that us women were crazy and emotional last service. Was that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that
Crazy emotional creatures.
Yes, crazy emotional creatures, and you guys are little boys. And God put us together. Isn't that great? He said, here, it'll be fun. Yeah, famous last words. It'll be fun, they said. It is fun, though, and it is awesome when you start working through things and you look to see how God is using you in your marriage and with each other. It can be an awesome time. So what is an example of a covenant with God? Well, one of them is Abraham and all of his descendants. God told Abraham, if you will follow me, if you will love me and obey my commandments, I will give you like as many descendants as the stars in the sky, which is a lot. Another covenant's the rainbow. It's the easy one. It's the one that we all look at and go, ooh, pretty. But that's God telling us every time, I'm not flooding this world again. Not with water. It's not happening. Covenants are forever. Just like our marriages are forever. And that's the point we want to get across today. Marriage is forever. And it changes how you go into it. So what's the impact? The impact is simple. Recognize your marriage is forever and figure out how to solve your problems. We could have chosen to be miserable. It sounds like a terrible choice. But that's what we could have chosen. We could have chosen to not work through anything and just be like, you know what, we just live in the house and we're here and it's whatever. I don't care. But that isn't the life either one of us wants. And so that isn't the life that we've chose. We chose to do the hard work. For those of you that think marriage is easy, you're full of it. For those of you that expect marriage to be simple, learn better now. It is the hardest thing, one of the hardest things you will ever do. And God has such an amazing way to use it in our lives and in the lives of the people around us to see what that looks like. You got anything? Yeah, you can do that.
So this is the foundation of the biblical marriage. In the coming weeks, we'll go through, we'll use Timothy Keller's The Meaning of Marriage. It's a very good book. We've used it in both our classes. I think Emily and Hayden there, you would agree? Good book? Yep. That, and we'll go through how do you get to that point? How do you get that biblical marriage? You know, we're just not going to say this is how it's done. We're not help you get to that point.
Yeah, and this, honestly, the book, The Meaning of Marriage, was so important to us after we read it that our two boys who are married, we made them read it along with their spouses because it just brought up so many things that even as long as we had been married at the time,
we're like, oh, I wish I would have thought of that. I wish I would have recognized that for what it was. And so if you want to read a book, that's a really good one to read. We are going to have fun this month. We're going to joke. We're going to have a blast. This one was a pretty serious one, but this is our foundation. This is the one that so many people have forgotten because our culture says, just sign and get out. But that's never what God meant for us. And we don't want to see that for anybody here. So if you guys need help, if you need to talk, obviously we're available. There are other people available. Counseling, like he said, suck it up and go. Because it makes a difference. And it will help you. And it's one of the things that God gave to us. So we're going to end on a happy note with our reflection song. But I want to remind you, this is the altar. We use our steps as the altar. If you guys need prayer or need to pray about something, come down here. Like, this isn't dead space. We are family, and we love each other, and we're going to support each other. And if you're going through a tough time and you just need time with God, you need someone to come and pray with you, get down here. Because this is where God does a lot of work. And this is where he can speak into your life. So we're going to go ahead and start our song and do that. If you want to come down and pray, and then we'll go from there.